with Daniel. So anyway, we want to say hello. Thank you guys for showing up. We know that right now is a kind of tumultuous time in Power Rangers. Am I right?
Yeah, some people want to say it's tumultuous. I am actually excited. Okay, who wants to go with what news was going on? We talked about this yesterday on the regular Ranger wrap-up yesterday, but if you guys do not know, the Illuminati has released a series
looks like they're still
articles.
saying that there's no audio.
Shut off the music.
You can't be the.
Let's see. No, there should be audio. Like I see it going.
I agree with her.
That's
Shut down the music completely.
That's happened with Shay too, where we can see this, but there's no audio.
Let's let them catch up because they're probably going to be like 4 or 5 seconds behind us. So let us know if you can hear us now again. Yeah. Okay. All right. We're good. We're good.
Good. Thank you. All right.
Wait. Now we have to do one of these.
Oh no! I'm so scared. Oh, perfect. Take that, baby. So.
But yeah,
anyway,
I'm glad that you guys can hear us. The Illuminati had dropped some articles that were, I guess, controversial or raise some emotions with people.
Definitely.
And because we are passionate fans, we definitely understand that. I think a lot of stuff was cleared up yesterday on the Ranger show. If you want to go back on YouTube and watch that, there was a long discussion about it. So if you want to elucidate, it was just basically saying that Sentai footage will no longer be adapted.
Well, not necessarily. The basic premise is that Hasbro is going to be ending their licensing agreement with Toei after the current contract is up.
Okay.
So Dino Fury is still going to be Dino Fury based on I can't pronounce the name, Ryu Soldier. And that's all going ahead as planned. But after that series ends, it's kind of up in the air.
And the reason also it's kind of up in the air once again is because at the same time, that is when their contract, Hasbro's contract with Nickelodeon is scheduled to be done.
But they have renewed. We don't know. Any number of things can happen at this point.
Right. So the information that we received basically as far as I know from what I was reading and from what Joe told me, we don't know what's happening with Nickelodeon. That's like that part of the equation is still up in the air.
Yes.
But Hasbro will be ending their current contract with Toei when that's up. So what that means is Power Ranger series going forward may no longer be reusing the premises from Sentai and the footage from Sentai.
So how do you guys feel about that? Because finishing up with Power Rangers in Space, which was supposed to be the last season of Power Rangers at that time.
At that time, that's right.
And we're thinking about it. How would you guys feel about this? Josh, you've only been on this for the last season, but
like honestly, like after hearing this news, it's interesting because this is something that I've been saying since we started watching Power Rangers in Space.
That's right.
Is that my like I enjoy the show, like I enjoy it for what it is, but personally, I feel like the pacing is off, and that some of the story moments are being hindered by the fact that they have to find how to fit that in with the footage that they already have from the Sentai show. And that I think while it is a challenge to be able to take something that's completely different than someone else made and refit it for your narrative, I think for me it would be a lot more creatively I would get more of a sense of satisfaction out of creating something entirely new. Now, that's not to say that it's not going to be based on the same tokusatsu style, because there's nothing stopping them from saying, okay, we're going to do the same style of a show, but everything that we do is going to be completely original now instead of trying to fit the old material into the new narrative that we want to tell.
Yeah, that makes sense. But also costs increase with that.
Right. Hasbro has the money for that, though.
Yeah. But like for those of you in the chat, was that something that you agree with Josh? Let us know. If you would want like all American footage or, English complete from A through Z of like, we come up with the stories, we may base it on, Sentai footage, but you're just saying like, we want to create our own storylines, our own characters, our own casting, 100%.
And one of the things that they didn't really talk about yesterday is just because they're ending the contract as it currently is with Toei, doesn't mean that in the future they couldn't say, well, you know what, we still want to use the suits. So who knows like how they would like, because that's no longer a contract to use the footage. That's now a licensing agreement, which is something completely different.
That's very true. That's very true. And see, the thing is, my whole thought was the same. What if they're like, all right, we were thinking about it. Now we just want to draft a new contract and how we're going to do it. Maybe when we say for licensing, maybe we're not doing it for footage. Maybe we're just doing it for the IP itself. We want to be able to take Super Sentai stuff, just the ideas, the themes, and of course the outfits. We can have them made up and recomposed.
I was talking with Joe last night after his stream, and I think after we finished the Star Trek show, and I had asked him. I don't know if either of you guys know this, but we were talking about how many of the Power Rangers series that have, I mean, obviously they've all been adapted from the Sentai stuff, but which ones were actually the same storylines that they used in the Sentai version and which ones were completely new storylines? Because that completely changes things. Like if they wanted to make a female Red Ranger and they don't have the footage from that to use, how are they going to do that?
See, that is true. That is actually super interesting. So for like Daniel, like kind of going at this, and since, you know, space was going to be ending, how do you feel about the potential future of Power Rangers now?
I'm excited. This is a moment where we have the ability to make a change that will be something that fans have been clamoring about. Other Fairweather fans were also talking about it. I myself, Fairweather fan, there are moments where it's just like, hey, I wish I didn't have to actually see some of the Sentai footage. I get it. I know it's like a whole great thing as far as Ranger fans are concerned, seeing that and seeing the conversion. But once again, we lose so much in a story that could be told because we have to be pigeonholed and make sure we deliver this particular story that matches this footage. I want to see you be able to tell an original story the whole way through without having to deal with matching with footage. I want you to be able to give me a good story, because what they did with Space, my gosh, this was really phenomenal. Good. And I mean, we dealt with a villain who didn't exist in Sentai.
Yeah.
That was the great thing. So with that, it bred a lot of new creative ideas. The whole thing of, I'm a villain and I'm going to pretty much defect from this villain and do something my own way, but I'm tied in between because secretly I'm an actually good person, and all these other things are happening. And it was just like, wow, this was great. And that's what I want to see. That type of level of creativity, that kind of level of conflict, internal conflict, character development. I want to see a character study actually happen in Power Rangers on a show, not have to wait for later to be done in a comic.
Right.
I want a character study in the show, because kids are not dumb. Kids can follow. They follow very well. That We Bear show, they have dealt with some concepts that are like, whoa. If you don't believe me, go ahead and watch Steven Universe.
Yeah,
go ahead and watch,
I was going to bring that up.
What's that park one with the
regular show?
Regular show.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, there are so many Adventure Time. There are so many shows that they're like, whoa, it started as TVY7, and then as it went on, they're like, all right, TV14, you know, for some things. But if not, it was still TVY7 and very good. There's a show on Netflix right now that where they're playing like a video game. They're lost in this world, and the new season, they think that they're out of it. And then halfway through, they found out, no, you never left. This thing is still tricking
Really?
you.
What show is that?
I forgot.
Now that sounds like something I want to watch.
It's like a TVY, but you have to go through season 1.
Wait, is that No Game, No Life?
No. It's not an anime. It's kind of like an American looking one. But it's really interesting. That concept in that trailer was like, oh my God, I have to watch this. But they were like, just be prepared, because the first season is them falling into that game world, dealing with that game world, trying to figure a way out, mysteries and some lost type stuff. And then finally, here goes the game trying to change itself up and trick them in season 2. So it was like, oh wow, that show is TVY7. I'm telling you, it's possible, and that's what I want.
There's also, sorry to cut you off really quick here, but I know I saw people were kind of talking about this on Twitter the other day too. Just because something is TVY7 or TV whatever, like for the younger ages, doesn't mean that it can't. Like, there's movies that are G that are adult themes. It's just that they're made in a way that a kid can watch it, and they're not going to be like distressed in any way from what they're seeing. Exactly. So there's no reason that you can't make a show that's for kids that will also appeal to older markets, like the Marvel movies. The Marvel movies are all PG-13. That doesn't mean that if you're older than 13, you're not going to enjoy it. And it also doesn't mean that if you're younger than 13
that you wouldn't enjoy it either.
Right. It's just parental guidance. So just make sure that if you're a parent, make sure that you know that your kid is watching this and that you're okay with the content that's involved in it.
Exactly.
It doesn't mean it doesn't necessarily mean that's not appropriate. Yeah. It just means some of the themes and some of what's happening here might not be.
It may be too far for your child. Sometimes it may be a discussion you're going to end up having.
Right.
When it comes
Every
to
kid is different.
Yeah, exactly. And everyone knows their child. So that's why it's like, here, we'll give this broad blanket. We'll work with that. When it comes to ratings, I have a lot to say about it, and I do hate sometimes what's set up for ratings. But sometimes they do count, and they're very important to have. But once again, that kind of change-up is something that I would look for. But Elle, what about you?
I mean, kind of along those lines too, like you were mentioning animated series, like things like Avatar, where it's like it doesn't have to be a single season, but if the writers can develop like longer story arcs, like say 3 seasons for these characters to get inundated with them and, kind of pass the torch that way, Like Avatar, I thought was fantastic. Something like Gravity Falls, I think, is fantastic, where you can learn so much, have fun, have it appeal to a younger audience, but have these nods towards the older audience.
I just finished season 3 of The Dragon Prince, which is made by the same people who made The Legend of Korra, which was the follow-up to Avatar. And I feel like that's like one of the main characters is like this 8-year-old kid. But then there's also the other adult characters, and there's a lot of adult themes in there that are also very important for kids too. Yes. Like it's one of those things that kind of crosses
those lines. Yeah, that's true.
But even it's a harder thing. Like I imagine, maybe because I'm reading the comics like Go-Go and everything, that I do imagine Power Rangers being more of an animated series. If we are not using the Sentai footage, like obviously cost of production and everything else would increase if we did it all, in-house.
Right.
But I feel like animated would be such a fantastic way to get around it. Like I love the 2017 movie. I thought that was fantastic. I love the characters, but for a serial thing, I feel like animation really for Power Rangers is a way to go.
Now, this is the thing. I'm going to say this from a fan standpoint.
All right.
If we go animated, what else are we going to have? Because, it's like, yeah, great animated. You're able to tell the story. You're able to do anything you want physically with your people.
Like the format gives you so much freedom for storytelling.
But here goes the question. What are we going to do for those people that are like, well, Power Rangers isn't animated? Power Rangers, one of the cool things about it is seeing people literally do a kick, do a jump, do a punch, take a punch, take a hit. Physically seeing a human being do these things is what makes it kind of cool. It's like, oh my gosh, I can be a Power Ranger because I'm seeing someone actually
But
do
I feel
it.
like we get that anyway. Like cosplay is like a really big thing, and you could cosplay characters from live action or from cartoon-based things. And I feel like that is why we have a lot of live action movies coming out with like Disney and everything. That you can easily do that, but it's a bigger production value that if they wanted to shift gears and keep the budget being the same for the same series, that animation would be the way to go. I think in the future, if we could bring back the suits, like I love them. I personally love mechs. I love the monsters, aliens, whatever you want to call them, but I love the suits.
Well, here's my question. I'm going to pose this to the audience too.
Right.
Doesn't matter who designs the suits. As long as the suit looks good and fits the theme of the show that you're doing, does it matter whether it comes from Toei or whether it's an all-American thing? Because everyone talks about the suit designs, and like I was saying before, a lot of the Power Ranger seasons, the plot is completely different. Like the monsters are obviously the same, and the Zords are the same, but the plot is completely different. So, are you watching it for the plot, or are you watching it for the Zord fights? Like
I think it could be both.
That's a.
You want that tie-in though, because like things like Power Rangers, where they had like Power Ranger 1 and it's a circle, and 2 is the 2 circles, and 3 is a triangle. Like there is a lot of thought that goes into that. But you see things like Ranger Slayer, like that suit design is freaking fantastic.
Yeah.
Right, but then you watch something like Pacific Rim, which is an American production, and the Jaegers
look
amazing. Like say what you will about the storyline and the movie itself, but the fight scenes, the monsters, like everything looked amazing.
Dude,
like Guillermo del Toro.
I'm saying, Hasbro still did a great job with Transformers. Visually, the way it looked, the fight scenes. I mean, there are moments where it's like, all right, I'm breaking out a sword, and then of course, here goes your slow motion, chopping off a head, landing clear, pulling back, shooting off. I was like, yo, this is action. This is great. And this is a giant mech. It's just a mech battle. Right. But I was like, yo, I'm into this. They can still do that. Hasbro has the ability. And
here's something else. Like this was a discussion. Like after the Star Trek show last night, I was like going into Facebook groups that I'm in and reading like some of the recent posts from people in the Star Trek world. And one of the discussions that they were having was why the new seasons of Star Trek are only 10 to 13 episodes versus the old Star Trek, which was, a full 40, like 22, 24 episode season, because that's how the seasons were. But that's the thing. Now, like if you look at something like Game of Thrones or like the new Star Trek shows, they cut down to 12 to 16 episodes a season. That doubles the amount of money that they're able to spend per episode. So your production value goes up so much.
Yeah.
That's right. That's exactly why I think people do it. And that's something that not that long ago used to drive me insane. I'm watching a show and I'm like, oh, Netflix has this show. It's going to look good. It's going to be great. 10 episodes. Why is that happening? And then it took the time for Josh to literally sit me down and like, Daniel, production costs. What's wrong with you?
But no,
you're right.
Not only that,
oh my God.
I've been watching Supernatural since it started. So that's 15 years that I've been watching this fucking show.
Well, and you went from 24 episodes to 15 to, is it now?
No. It's still a regular full season. I think some episodes were 24, some episodes are like 20, 22.
Okay, yeah,
but it's still like it's network TV, so it's still like a regular full season show.
Jeez.
But you go back and you start like binge watching some of these older shows that are like lost. And like you get into these shows that are now 22, 24 episodes per season, and you're like, there's so many episodes in here that are just pure filler. That some of them are really good, some of them are fantastic, but then others are just garbage. And you're like, why is this episode here? Oh, this episode is here because they needed to hit 100 episodes to get into syndication.
Yep.
And that's like one of the biggest reasons that some of the shows just pushed out so many episodes.
That's very true.
So that didn't necessarily have anything to do with the story. It's just they needed the episode.
No, so do you think that's something immediately that Power Rangers definitely does? And now since they're still running under the banner of Power Rangers, do they have to worry about syndication anymore?
Well, I don't I don't think Power Rangers ever really worried about syndication. Like I think that was just it was because it started out as an after school show.
Yeah, and it's like 5 days out of the week, every like Monday through Friday, they would release an episode, and that's what it was.
Right, and that was like even if you look at cartoons like DuckTales or Gummy Bears or Darkwing Duck, the seasons were like 40 to 60 episodes because it was a 5-day-a-week show, not just a weekend show.
Okay.
So now, like Power Rangers, like we're actually seeing the shift now, where it's going from like the 60 episode season that we had with Mighty Morphin. Now we're at a 40 episode season with
a weekly release.
With weekly releases.
Yeah.
And it's going to keep dropping because they're moving towards that 22 episode season format like regular network TV shows had.
Wow.
So it's you notice that as like we're noticing it now because we're starting to get into that era, and we're also like I was looking up yesterday how many episodes we had to go before we got the first high definition season of Power Rangers. We're still 10 years away.
Yeah, we are.
The first high definition episode season of Power Rangers, at least shot in HD, wasn't until 2007. So it's I think a lot of people don't realize that the format of television is changing now. So all of the entertainment companies are moving to try and fit that format to fit the modern audiences. And it's just something they have to do.
Now, with him saying that, my question to you is, do you think Power Rangers will get to that point where they're going to be concerned with, okay, the modern audience likes these things. The modern audience seems to be fascinated with content.
Oh, sorry, I'm gonna cut you off 1 second. Mikey Nerd Talk and Blackwing are talking about the shirt that I'm wearing.
Yes,
Larry sent me this shirt, so this is all Larry.
Daniel has a purple one. I have a yellow one.
That's right.
Yeah.
But so, what do you think about that? Do you think we'll get to a point where Hasbro is going to be listening to the times? And by doing that, listening to the audience?
But I feel like it's harder too, because like our opinions being as adults is probably different from their target audience.
Oh, absolutely. You heard me talking about that with every episode that we were talking about. I'm like, I have to recognize that I'm saying this as an adult, not as a kid that the show was targeted
But then
for
some of you in the chat, I'm kind of curious of what are your favorite, kind of young children shows that you enjoy. How long are the seasons? Because I'm one of those like coming into something, I like to know that it's going to be short, concise, they have a story to tell. But that's just because I don't have a lot of time. I mean, more now because of the pandemic. But in everyday life, like I don't have times. Like I usually watch less than an hour of TV a week, personally. So knowing that it's shorter,
I watch so much more than that. And now after hearing you say that, I'm incredibly sad that I don't do more with my life.
Nope.
Well, I do a lot of editing pictures. I have it on the background. If it makes you feel better, I like to watch Twitch. So I watch listen to a lot of gamers. That's like my preferred. I don't sit down and watch TV or sit down and watch movies. I usually have Twitch on in the background, like because I don't play games. I used to spend all of my time playing video games.
See, I'm the opposite. When I'm working, I turn on TV. Like that's when I binge and rewatch TV is when I'm working, just so that's noise that's in the background. And because I know that I saw it already, it doesn't matter when I tune in and when I tune out.
Yeah, you just kind of tune into the parts you know that you're gonna like, and like, oh man, this part is so good.
I'm a podcast guy. During the time I'm working or blah blah, I can take in info.
I can't do that.
That's perfect for me. But
I get distracted during TV.
When it comes to TV, oh man, dude, I'm in, and I watch a lot of stuff. I watch television. I watch my latest thing is it's like kind of like almost like a creepy pasta kind of thing going on. Where, oh my god, I learned about the Dybbuk box. I've got Joe obsessed with it. If you guys want to know more about it, just hit me up. I'll tell you everything about the Dybbuk box, and it's amazing. But anyway, I've been jumping into a K-hole concerning Power Rangers because of everything that's been happening. So it's like watching a bunch of other people's channels on YouTube, on Twitch, and everything, and just taking it all in. Like, wow, oh my god, the growth and understanding of just what Power Rangers is. It is amazing to me right now, dude. Like, I see why the fandom is like as strong as it is, because there are things where it's like, oh, did you know that this actually connects to this, and that also connects to something that's even much larger later. And you're like, I didn't even know, like, I'm not in that level yet.
And the thing is, like, because there are so many episodes and so many seasons, if you didn't grow up and continue watching it as a child, it is incredibly daunting to imagine. If it wasn't for the Retro Ranger wrap-up, I probably would have fallen off again. Like, I honestly would have fallen off with Turbo. Like, I would not have made it through. But I'm so glad I did, and because space is so valuable, and even moving forward. But like you're saying, there is a lot of filler. But with that said, like you mentioned, some of my favorite episodes are filler. Like the one with Adam having the Halloween nightmares and going to the classic horror monsters. That is one of my favorite episodes, and it's a filler episode. But if there's a way to find that balance between like genuine content and between these kind of fillers, like, man, it is so good. Yeah. But you need to have that foresight. You need to have that Kevin Feige Marvel foresight of like, this is what we're doing. You know, phase 1 is this, phase 2 is this, phase 3 is this, and they are all going to connect through these characters, and this is how they're going to pass the torch.
I feel like Hasbro is in a really good position to do that too, because like Transformers, for instance, like the Michael Bay movies, you know, whatever. Bumblebee was really good.
So
it was
smart, too,
really good. And you know, if you think about it, Transformers, when it was on, it was a show for kids.
Yeah.
And then the Michael Bay movies came out, and you watch them, and you're like, this isn't really targeting the same age group that the cartoon was.
But it's the people that grew up with Transformers that are like, I love this. This was fantastic, and we are adults now, and this is what I want to see.
And I feel like Power Rangers, like now, is in a position to do a very similar thing. Like I know that they tried to do that with the 2017 movie, and it didn't do so well at the box office.
But that movie is so freaking good.
I really
argue me if I'm wrong.
My only complaint about the movie is that we didn't actually see the Megazord transform into the Megazord. Like all the Zords fell into that pit, and then it came up as the Megazord. Yeah,
I'm actually okay with that. Like,
depending
like on their CGI and their budget, like you're gonna have to cut things. That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
I'm okay. I was a little sad with Kimberly's character, like not really being as well developed, I feel like, as the rest. But that movie was still phenomenal. I like how they targeted like certain. Because Power Rangers originally, like, my biggest thing was, like, Power Rangers, when it started out, was the popular, smart, coolest kids got to be Power Rangers. But with the 2017 movie, they picked the outcasts. They picked the underdogs. And I felt like that spoke to that generation. Of, like, hey, we want to be special, too. It's not just about the cool, popular, fit, intelligent, beautiful people. It is the ones that are outcasts. And it's like, I want Power Rangers to grow with us, with society over time. And it is hard pulling that from the Sentai footage and forcing it to fit our new... You know,
that's why I think if the Power Ranger series were 1-to-1 with the Sentai show, obviously that would make a lot of things easier. But at that point, why do you really need another company to do that? Like Toei could easily just come in themselves and be like, okay, we'll do an American version too.
Yeah. So allow Toei to. My thing is, once again, allow Toei to be the inspiration. But now let's see what you can do being inspired. That's what I want. I want that change. I want that growth. Like you said, once again, the film, I loved it. Argue me against it if you want to. I loved the 2017 film.
And the suits were like armored, and they had that in the MMPR too. But it's like without the spandex, like I thought it looked super cool. Like it was very sleek. It's not my favorite Ranger designs, but it made sense in the context of the movie. It made sense with the world that they built.
But there's so much to the Tokusatsu style. Like not only is there Super Sentai, but there's also Kamen Rider and the Ultraman, and like back in the day, was it Guyver? And like there are so many different versions of that style of a show that they could pull inspiration from, that I'd be really excited to see what they could do if they weren't again, saddled by having to use that footage.
Sure,
so it is for sure. Like, we get it, but it's like, hopefully, we have no idea where exactly it's going to go, obviously, like in the future. But
not yet.
I would love a change, because I always wanted Power Rangers to grow with us, and I want more complex characters, more complex themes. I want it to be something that everybody can enjoy. And it's very few shows that can do that.
Right. And like, if their contract with Nickelodeon isn't renewed and they go to another platform, like say they go to Hulu or to Netflix,
even HBO Max
or
is
Amazon,
up a lot of the older,
or HBO Max, any of those, a half-hour show will actually be a half-hour show.
No,
8 minutes doesn't sound like a lot of time,
but it is.
But when it comes to storytelling, it really is.
It is. It can be a lot. It can be a daunting task trying to fit something in, as far as even a story, trying to fit something in within 8 minutes. So think about how much you're losing when you're losing that 8 minutes. There's a lot of story that can be there. There's a lot of development, again, character development. There's portions of story that you'll be able to include that can be crumbs to something else later. Like, all of those things now you miss. And it's something that I wish that they were able to just be able to do on their own without being hampered by timing, without being hampered by, hey, we've made a good show, let's not worry about having to sell toys. But we understand that that's why it's created. And a toy company bought you. So we're going to have to make sure that we sell toys. But now it gives them
honestly,
the option.
if you make the designs and the characters fantastic,
the
toys, they're going to sell off the shelves without any marketing.
Now you have that time where that's what you can make.
So I've got a question for you guys. Since we are here to kind of discuss the Power Rangers in space and like more or less Power Rangers up to this point, because I'm not really familiar with Power Rangers overall, but from what Joe was telling me and from what I've gleaned from other people, Power Rangers in Space was almost like a tipping point for the series. That right at the end of Power Rangers in Space, it was very possible that the show was going to get canceled and it wasn't going to move on from there.
It was supposed to be the last season of
So what we're talking about happening now, possibly in a couple of years, could have happened back then. Do you think, had Power Rangers gone completely American with all original footage, do you think it would be in a different place today? Do you think it would still be around today, like it is now, being based on the Sentai stuff?
My answer is no, and I feel it's because the way they were pushing and training the audience, they wouldn't have felt the audience was ready. Especially if they went ahead and switched over to American stuff, and now all of a sudden, just a little bit of a drop in the toy sales, they would have been like, well, we're done. We messed up. Because this is what it's made for. And now they're not going to immediately cleave to it. Where it's like, we make a change for this show that is made as a big toy commercial. And what we do, we stop taking what's already been made that we know is successful when it comes to toys, and now we're designing our own. The first failure would make them say, forget it, we're done.
Yeah, Young Justice.
There we go.
That is exactly what happened to that. Teen Titans.
Oh, yes.
Although, back when the original Teen Titans ended, I wasn't happy because Teen Titans Go was the new thing, and they were like, "Oh, we're gonna do this new kids show."
Very silly.
Like 3 seasons in, I finally sat down and watched an episode of Teen Titans Go, and I was like, "Fuck, why wasn't I watching this from the beginning?" That show is so good.
It's smart. It's very smart. It's funny.
Obviously there's like so many kids jokes in it because it's targeting kids, but as an adult, it's almost like Tiny Toons and Freakazoid and like all the Spielberg cartoons that were on back when we were like in like middle schoolish.
Yeah.
Like that was those were aimed at us, but they were developed and produced in such a way that adults watching it had a completely different take on it.
That's exactly it. And that's something that I wish they would have given time for, but back then, I don't feel it would have worked.
Thomas Franco was telling me that Hyperforce is an original team. It is, but Hyperforce was a bunch of people sitting at a table talking about what they were going to do as Power Rangers. It wasn't people on set wearing costumes and
doing the ki.
Yeah. Exactly. Slightly different thing. Like I get that a lot of people liked it and a lot of people enjoyed it, and that it was in fact a Power Rangers thing, but it's not Power Rangers.
Yes.
So with this idea, I'm kind of curious. Would you want to see a complete reboot from MMPR, or would you want to start fresh new team, fresh new Zords? Nobody knows anything about what's going on, or are you going with the legacy of Power Rangers and picking up in a more modern area with American footage?
That's, for me, I don't think it matters.
MMPR quite a lot of times already. So
for me, I think it could go either way.
Okay.
As long as it's good, I would be happy. But at the same time, like I know how I reacted when Star Trek rebooted, in 2009, and they were like, "Oh, we're recasting Kirk and Bones and Chekhov, and we're bringing all these new people in to play these characters that I knew as
a very
William Shatner and DeForest Kelly, and I knew them as those characters, and I was like, why aren't they just making something new? Why do we have to go back? We've already seen the original series people. Why aren't we going into the future? I want to know what happens after Deep Space Nine and after Voyager. So I get that. I completely understand that from a fan perspective. They're like, well, I want to see something new. But bringing in the casual people that are like, wait, we're getting a new show that's based on this show that I remember watching when I was a kid. I completely understand that too.
The nostalgia plays in, but also something new.
Right,
that's always the big thing, because we have a lot of shows we were growing up that are getting rebooted. Like She-Ra was like one of them, and I was like, the animation looks good.
Yeah.
Like I can't believe they're already doing this, and sometimes it works out, and it's still animated. It's not even a different. Voltron is a big one.
Lost in Space. Lost in Space was a show in the '60s. Obviously, I know people make fun of me for being old, but I was not old enough to watch Lost in Space when it was airing live. I watched it as a kid on Nickelodeon when they would do those 3-hour blocks. It would be Gilligan's Island, Lost in Space, Land of the Giants, and there was one more, Land of the Lost. And I remember watching those as a kid, and they were cheesy, campy shows. And then I heard that they're rebooting Lost in Space. How are they going to do it? And then I saw it. I was like, well, this isn't what I remember from when I was a kid. But this is so good.
For me, honestly, I'm saying it wasn't what I remembered as a kid, but it was so much better.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Much better. Also, like you mentioned, Land of the Lost. There was
the 90s series.
I was going to say, as kids, there was the older one, and then they had the new one when we were kids in the 90s.
And then there was the Will Ferrell movie.
Yes.
Which was garbage.
Yes.
That was hot garbage.
But the thing is, it was still, once again, that property is something that can move. It's viable if you get the right person to really look at it and say, let me make something of it. And that's exactly what I feel can, will, and is happening.
Okay.
With Power.
So I've got a completely random question for you. Well, not completely random, but a non-Power Rangers related question for you.
Okay. You're
given creative control over making a show at a network or a cable stream or whatever.
Okay.
The only rule is you have to reboot an existing property. What show are you going to bring back and remake for a modern audience?
That's hard. So many of these shows have already been done. Like DuckTales got a reboot.
Yep.
Like all the Disney ones pretty much have a reboot.
Well, live action or animated.
Even stuff that's not even child things, Unsolved Mysteries, that's getting a reboot.
Yeah.
And it's really fun. I
haven't watched it yet, but I want to.
I love True Crime.
I saw the Alien episode, and I was just like,
right? It's fun.
the whole town. Anyway.
And for those of you in the chat, if you want to reboot, I don't know.
Yeah. Also, for you guys, all you guys,
even if you're only 13 years old, let us know what.
Heck yeah.
Which
Think
one
about something you're like,
reboot.
oh man, I watched this blah blah 2 or 3 years ago. Now it's already canceled. I'd reboot it and I'd make it. Tell us what it is. We want to know. And while you guys are trying to go ahead and bring that up, I'll think of something. Someone already said it. Oh my god.
The critic?
No. Once again, the man, the myth, the legend, Blackwing said, bring back Batman Beyond.
Batman Beyond was really good.
But now that you said it, and I wanted to say it, I was like, because I know you and Mike Rome, you two would go insane if I said it. So let me take that back. I'm going to shoot one out, and I know Larry's going to be excited. Gargoyles.
They could do a lot with that.
That would be one of my choices too.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Such a good show.
So good.
Until they got to season 3.
Nope, there's only 2 seasons. Gargoyles.
Thank you. No, the Stonecutters don't count. That whole thing was trash.
I mean, I did.
I
liked the stuff on Avalon before they left.
Yeah. That was so great.
Or even
having to deal with Oberon when he came back.
Although even some of the stuff when Elisa and Goliath and the daughter were kind of traveling around, some of that stuff was okay.
Other ones were like, ooh, boring.
And I want them to lean more into the mythology. I feel like that would be a good thing with King Arthur, with the Shakespeare, with everything else.
That's what I was like.
We have the intellect to do that now.
Yes,
which would be good.
Yes, that would be my thing. I'm like, okay, you want me to reboot Gargoyles? And ABC's like, I can't believe you said it. we've been talking about it forever, because I know they have. So perfect. That's
What was yours, Josh, since you came up with the question?
Okay.
I'm kind of curious because you have such a wide array of like knowledge about a lot of series.
Yeah,
So I'm kind of curious.
Mine is Buck Rogers in the 25th Century. It's a sci-fi show from like the early 80s. It was on around the same time as like Battlestar Galactica, like the original Battlestar Galactica. Basically, dude, an astronaut, he goes up into space on this mission, gets knocked off course by like these weird solar rays, and he ends up being put into like a stasis because he's frozen in the spaceship. Comes back around in his orbit 500 years later, and now he's in the future. Like he's a dude from the 20th century in the 25th century now.
Interesting.
And I think it would just be like so fun to have like a fish out of water story, because like especially with like what's happening in society right now with like old people that just don't feel like they understand where society is now.
Yeah.
Like, you know, we were talking about like I don't understand TikTok. Like I feel so like out of the loop when I'm watching TikTok things. I'm like, I don't understand what's going on. So now having someone like from our era that is, you know, of that generation, you know, like someone in their late 20s, early 30s that's now like thrown 500 years into the future and doesn't understand anything that's happening. I think that would be a really interesting story to explore.
Okay, so being in the age where you are supposed to be a trendsetter, you're the one learning the trends.
Exactly.
And it's like, but besides that, it's set in a space thing, and there's still some level of a war going on.
Right. Yeah, he kind of gets thrown into the middle of war. One side gets him, and they're like, "Oh, hey, yeah, you should come with us because you know we're the good guys," and blah 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 blah. But then, like, this all happens in like the first episode of the show. But then, like, he finds out that weird shit's going on, so he leaves them, and then ends up back on Earth and joins up with people from Earth that are so. It's a really interesting story.
I mean, honestly, they've kind of already rebooted this, but they did not do a good job. I would love for them to redo Sailor Moon with completely different animation style that doesn't have to be the anime, that doesn't have to be the manga. But, like, it's a story about, like, women coming together. Like, you have the stupid one who is the main character, terrible at school. You have the super smart one that has no social skills. You have, like, the isolated... And they all come together to fight evil. I feel like they can make that a lot better. But, like, Sailor Moon was my jam growing up, and...
That actually reminds me of something that I want to bring up. Like, so I've seen a lot of comments on the YouTube video of people going off about, oh, you know, a female Red Ranger, you know, that's just them trying to fill the SJW agenda and everything.
I'm fine with that, though.
I don't understand. Like, when would that not be like in what for people who think that that's just like an SJW thing? In what instance would making a female the lead not be an SJW thing? I don't understand why they think, oh, hey, we're going to reboot this, but we kind of want a female lead. Why is that automatically an SJW thing instead of just, we want to go in a different direction and seeing this from a female perspective is different than what we originally had? Yeah,
it doesn't make any sense to me. Really fits into being the leader, and that just works for us. Why don't we just continue?
Right, you know,
maybe that complex.
I understand to a degree people who would be like, oh well, if they change Jason into a female, you know that changing established characters. While I don't necessarily agree with it being off limits, I understand people who don't agree with it. Yeah. But if you're bringing in a new character, why does it matter?
But see, we have backlash with that. Like, it's the mentality of certain people. We were talking about it earlier. Like, Doctor Who, 60 years, always a man, always the companion is a woman. Yeah. And it's like we had our first female Doctor. I actually incredibly loved the series. I love the personality. I love seeing the Doctor grow into this kind of compassionate but very still extremely stern person.
Yeah. Right.
But there's backlash because it's like, it's a female, you're just trying to work it in because this is what we do now.
But there was actually precedent set in, like, even in the current Doctor Who.
And we had Donna Doctor,
right?
Which
I mean, yeah, there was that. But even the Doctor himself, the Christopher Eccleston Doctor, when he met Jack, and Jack was talking about, I'm bi, Christopher Eccleston was like, you don't really know me all that well, do you?
Yeah.
Like, he implied that he might be down too.
But the Doctor always does it every time he changes.
Right.
He's like, am I a ginger? Am I a girl? Like, damn. You know?
Yeah. So
because we have Missy too, who's also a Time Lord. You know, has changed from the Master into Missy.
Yeah. So I don't with the specifically with the Doctor, because the regenerations is the thing that's built in to let them change the character as they see fit, and as the older versions of the character don't like want to leave to pursue other things, it shouldn't be an issue.
Yeah, that's the way I feel too. Like I would love
just make it good. That's all I care
compelling
about.
characters. If you can have compelling characters, that is going to be the crux of your story.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, make the change that's going to be something that people really want to pay attention to, really want to watch. And then on top of that, make sure the suits look cool, make sure the weapons are dope, and make sure the mechs
like continuity.
or the Zords, and the Zords are cool. As long as you do the suits, Zords, and the weapons looking cool, you'll continue to sell toys. Then after that, all you can do is just enjoy telling a really good story.
Right, but even
people will watch.
Even continuity is a weird thing for me to see people complain about, because I don't know any show that's ever been 100% true to things that it's established previously.
Yeah,
like
Doctor Who is an example again.
Doctor Who
even, like,
always
Simpsons,
changing things.
Simpsons
Always changing things. Like they don't even age in the Simpsons. They've been on the air for like almost 30 years, and Maggie is still a kid.
And Homer and Marge is like the story of how they conceive Bart like changes like every decade.
Right? Yes.
Star Trek. We were talking about this last night. Like watching Star Trek Enterprise. There's like four different times in that episode that different things from history were like just changed. Like they were like, oh well, this actually happened in this year, not in this year, or now we have this technology instead of that technology. It's gonna happen when you have shows that have been on for so long. What are they talking about in the chat?
Well, Matthew Thompson was saying Doctor Who, the only problem is he doesn't hate the new Doctor. He just said that the writing is what's bad.
That's valid criticism, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, but see, like, I love the writing.
I enjoy that whole concept of what they have right now with the whole endless child. Like, I was like, oh, that's a way out. Like, I love the fact that they wrote themselves out of a corner so they can do anything else from now on. I was like, okay, that's smart enough.
But then, you get the people bitching, that's never been established previously. This is all new. They're just
and then
making
you see
it up.
this with Star Wars as well. And obviously Star Wars has been problematic. But you watch something like The Mandalorian. I feel like if you've seen The Mandalorian, that won a lot of people over. If you finish Clone Wars, I feel like by the end, you've been convinced. Right. If you watch Rebels, and it's like these are all things that kind of went out of the way to do something different, to tell a story that,
with Doctor Who, if people had their way, it would have ended after Peter Capaldi, because that would have been, or after Matt Smith, because that was
the last
that would have been his last regeneration. So it would have been like, all right, well, I guess he's dead now.
Yeah.
So that you wouldn't have any new Doctor Who after that.
I do kind of have a question though, kind of going into this, like if we were to kind of if we were going to redo Power Rangers, would you want someone who is a diehard fan of Power Rangers to be writing the series, or would you want someone that like knows about it and can write something?
Yes.
That's good.
It's got to be a little bit of both. Okay. If I know I'm talking about Star Trek a lot, but
that's your jam.
Yeah. So Star Trek Nemesis was the last of the in continuity Star Trek movies.
Yes.
Okay.
It was the end. It was the last movie that was made with the TNG cast.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, they didn't have another movie for 9 years until the Calvin Timeline one came up. The guy who directed that movie was not a Star Trek fan. Okay. He didn't know anything about Star Trek, but he also didn't do his research. So like he kept fucking things up in the movie that anyone who knew anything about Star Trek, even casual fans of the show, would have been like, what are you doing?
Okay.
Wasn't the Borg in Nemesis?
And no, in Nemesis it was Tom Hardy.
Oh,
it was the Romulan one where they killed off Data.
Oh god, no. Poor one.
It was not great.
Okay.
But to that end, I don't think he really needed to be a huge fan of the show. He just needed to know the material. Like if he had done his research,
and not to insult fans and
exactly.
insult the universe that it was
right.
Okay.
As long as you do your research and you know that what you're doing, and bring on like assistants that do know it, and help you with fact checking. That kind of thing I would be fine with. But on the other hand, with like someone who's like a super duper mega like Power Rangers is everything fan, that brings up a whole list of other issues with just them fanboying out and just basically making a big budget fan fiction instead of a good movie.
Yeah. The thing is, I think it would be worse than just that. I think the problem would be that here they are, they're showing up, and what they want to do is course correct. course correct the whole time. Oh, well, there were so many errors in this thing, and this thing, and this thing. They're going to write a story so they can try to fix all the errors that made the things that they love flawed. They're going to try to fix them. And the problem is, by doing that, you're not telling me a story. You're jumping around trying to fix it. Right. Now, we do have actually, I wouldn't say course correction, but in the comics right now, we have, this is already established, and I'm adding on to it in a beautiful way. I would love that. And that's why I was like, let me have that team, let them go ahead and write a show, and let it be animated. And I would choose the animation from Generator X, which is Ben 10, but it's a little bit better. It gets a little bit older. It's far more fluid. And they kind of, the Man of Action, before they finally quit, they accepted the whole anime push. And it was like...
Which iteration of Ben 10 was your favorite?
Oh, I'm not crazy about that very last one that they had. I would just say maybe the first one by the time it got to its last season.
When he was older, like when he was like 15, 16?
Yeah, and he had that...
I think that was Yuri Lowenthal was doing the voice at that time.
Yeah, and he had to do that with half whatever and whatever. What's her name? His cousin finally came into her powers too. Yeah, that would be the one. That's why I said like Generator X. Yeah,
same with me.
Generator X.
Generator X was really good.
That's what I'm saying. I want that art style.
Yeah.
But I want, once again, the writing team that's doing the comic right now. That would be my animated option. But if I ran Hasbro, I'm having 2 shows. I'm having a completely separate team that's doing something concerning animated, and then I'm having another team that we're doing for our live action stuff.
I agree.
Would you run like parallel stories or completely different stories?
Oh, they're completely different stories.
Targeting different demographics.
Yes, exactly.
Would you? And then it gives you that option for crossover.
Anytime
in a movie and whatever, in a double episode, hour-long episode.
So, and the animated one would be for those nostalgic kind of fans that are like, oh, I remember, I hear that reference, I get it, I love it. And you can do your course correction if you want in the animated stuff, but in the live action, new story, new team, and you guys are running with Power Rangers the way we've been used to it. It's just now we're going to be using Sentai footage. Man, that's fine.
But see, that makes sense because you have people in Angel Grove, you have Power Rangers in space, you have Power Rangers in all kinds of dimensions. You can you can focus on like Aquitar, you can focus on any of the other Ranger teams that we've been.
It could be an anthology,
the stuff that you could do with an animated show that you can't do with live, because you could literally jump between different Power Ranger teams in the show. Yeah.
Series. The animated would be anthology, and then after that, you have the live action, which is still just doing its live action thing. So everyone is happy. Everyone is excited. People that have nostalgia and want that course correction, you're getting it with the anthology series.
Oh man, you know what would be really dope?
Stuff, but want to know what's happening, boom, you got the live action.
Power Rangers in the same style, that not necessarily with the cheesy comedy, but like Batman the Brave and the Bold. So Batman the Brave and the Bold, have you ever seen it? So each episode would start off with like this side plot where like the first 2 minutes or 3 minutes were this like one-off story, and then the rest of the episode would be the main episode. Every once in a while, that 2 to 3 minute story at the beginning would cross over several episodes, and so there'd be like 10 episodes in a row that all connected that all connected with that together.
Yeah.
So you can do the same thing with Power Rangers, where it's like this little story in the beginning with a completely different team,
right?
And then you jump into like the main A plot with your main team for the show.
See, but you need someone with a creative vision to organize something like that to see the long game. Like Power Rangers has been renewed kind of like on an on-season basis of like, hey, it might exist, it might not exist, we might renew it, we might not renew it. But it is something that if you're passionate about it, I hope the writers will be like, this is how many episodes we need. This is how many seasons we want. We could renegotiate in 3 years.
Right, but also not only that, but being limited by the Sentai seasons meant that they were like, okay, well, we have 3 seasons of footage, so this show can only go for this amount of time.
But creating their own,
they can say, okay, we have a 5-year plan, and they can write their series Bible and be like, okay, we know where it's going from beginning to end, and have a fully cohesive story.
But also, I feel like the network makes it difficult too. So if it's airing on Nickelodeon and it's only once a week, I would probably want Power Rangers to be like Netflix and release an entire season, a full completed season all at once, and being like, this is what we have to offer. Everything was already thought out. We don't have to work on week to week.
Right.
So I feel like that's the hard part, especially when you're getting out of, like the grade school demographic.
Right.
Is you don't have that time. You may only have the weekend. So watching something week to week we don't do that anymore. We like to binge watch, and that would help Power Rangers a lot.
Also, going that route would allow them to get fan feedback. Like that after that first season drops, they would immediately know what people thought about it.
Yes, that's true.
So they would have the time to then go in, because like as it is now, they're shooting the second season as the first season is still on the air. If they drop the entire thing, they would still have time to be. They can hear what people are saying, and they can be like, "Oh, okay, this is like." They can either say, "No, we're not going to change because we know what we're doing, and we think in the second season."
Yeah, in the long con, this is how it's going to play out.
This is how it's going to play out. But they could also be like, "Oh, this is actually a valid criticism. Let's take this and make this slight change here and this slight change there."
True. I mean, I definitely agree. I mean, there are people right now that are still saying like, well, I mean, even in the chat, Beast Morphers is a bad show. But it's like, I'm trying to hope for, I'm hoping for the best. Essentially, what I want to see is, well, what is their end game for Beast Morphers? I mean, this crossover was something that fans did like, but I hear some people that were like, ooh, it wasn't exactly what I needed or what I excited
I completely I understand where people are coming from with Beast Morphers to an extent, but at the same time, like, I watched the crossover episodes with Joe, and I'm watching it, I'm like, these are so much better than what we're watching right now. Like, overall, I liked In Space, but not only is it better production quality, but the storytelling and the pacing and everything is just so much better than it was back then. And the shift from the Ranger footage to the from the Sentai footage to the American footage is a lot more seamless.
Gosh, yes, it's almost like, wow, wait. Was this not? Yes, no, I don't know. Sometimes you're unsure, and that's a great thing about it. But honestly, when it comes to even, I know we were supposed to do a retrospective. We just talked about.
We're doing a lot of like hypothesizing.
Yeah. I'm like,
if we could do this,
we're already about to hit our mark. Just so we can do something that's even remotely close to the retrospective.
Well, so I'm going to cut you off for just a second. I'm going to go to the chat. We've got 20 people watching right now, which is up from what we had at the beginning of the show. So that's pretty good. So thank you, all of you guys for watching. We're glad that you're here. We'll go to what Daniel was going to bring up, but right after that, I want to know what you guys want to know from us. Like, ask us your questions that you have for us about what we thought about In Space, specific plot points that we had,
or
like whatever came before that. It'll have to be them that answer all that stuff,
or
because
even
I haven't
what you
seen
think will come
when
none of us have gone past this point, right? A couple of episodes here and there.
Without spoiling anything from Lost Galaxy, what you're excited for us to see?
Yeah.
Or what we can expect. Is it going to be as good as, because we all loved In Space. Are we going to love, Lost Galaxy as much? Do you think it's on an upward trajectory?
Joe thinks I'm going to like Lost Galaxy more than In Space because it's a lot more like the Star Trek style show where it's about exploration and they're kind of going out there. I did watch the first 5 episodes of the first of the premiere. I really liked what I saw. So I'm really excited going into it.
I am keeping away from it so I don't see anything. This is going to be, guys, I'm letting you know right now, please don't spoil it for me. I'm asking, I'm begging, I'm literally pleading. Do not spoil it for me because I really want to be like, oh my gosh, or wow, I'm disappointed. I want all those genuine feelings that I want you guys to see.
There's one kind of spoilerish thing that I know that I think all of you guys know as well.
Don't say it.
I don't know, man.
I
really don't.
Maybe. Okay.
So I'm like, no.
It's like, I know you guys are eager puppies. Where it's like, hey, did you see this thing? Did you see this rock that I picked up? Hey,
yeah. And you're like, no.
That was the hardest thing during our Star Trek show last night with Joe, was because like Joe started watching Enterprise, and then immediately he was like, oh man, I really like the show. He's almost done with season 3. Like he might now be done with season 3. We just talked about the first 2 episodes last night. So like he's bringing up, oh, well, this is the thing that happens later, and this is the thing that happens later, and this is really cool, and then you get to know this about this character. I'm like, I don't remember. I've watched the show, so I know it. But at the same time, it's been 10 years since I've watched it, so like I don't remember a lot of what's going on. So like none of it's spoilers for me, so I don't care about that. But it's the kind of thing where he's asking me something, I'm like, I don't remember.
But it's fun to feed off of that genuine energy. Yeah. Like when someone is just discovering something, it's super exciting. And I hope you guys feel that with us when we do our retro shows. Obviously, there's some spoilers that I feel like we know here and there. But in general, there is nothing.
Do you?
Well, does it have to do with a character that was bad during this season?
Yeah.
Okay. Talking about the
Astronema?
Yeah.
That's eventually going to happen. So I know that because I was hoping it.
Yeah.
You know, from the beginning, I was like, I want her to be good. I want her to be a ranger.
Yeah, right.
She's got to be a ranger. We know that.
Now here's my thing. Are you truly happy with the ending that we got for Space? And even if you are or if you aren't, what would you change?
See, that's a hard thing. I mean, a lot of it was like, not necessarily continuity, but when everything bad turns good, I was like, what happened to Clifter? Like, I wanted him to be good. I wanted him and Alpha to be friends and go on picnics and kidnap children together. Like, I wanted a more fulfilling. It was enough. Okay. The way that I think of it, if any of you guys have watched Lost, and that finale is very, you know, it divides people. But I'm just like, you know, it was enough. Definitely could have been better.
I'm sorry. Every time you say it, I'm thinking of Hamilton. I keep singing it.
Oh man, Hamilton is so good. I actually haven't even watched that yet.
Oh, you're killing me! All right,
I know.
Anyway.
I saw it when it came to LA, so I saw it a couple years ago.
I saw it
on tour,
with the little one, and that's all. I was like, oh my god,
it's so good.
Okay, so it's enough, but there isn't anything like you said. Okay, you'd like to see that kind of building and development of like Alpha and some of the side characters.
I wanted to see some because the whole thing with Zordon, you know, releasing his good energy was everybody turns.
It was a Deus Ex Machina, basically.
Yeah, and it was a good ending. Like if this was the final season of Power Rangers, like the final Power Rangers, everything that we were gonna get, I think it would have been fine. But because we're getting more, I'm like, how did more evil? What are they gonna fight next season? Zordon made everyone good throughout the entire galaxy.
Yeah, well, that's why this is the Lost Galaxy.
So it's someone he missed. So Zordon's power was like, I didn't know it existed, so I couldn't send my power there.
Yeah, I can.
Like
he said his cell signal wasn't that strong.
Yeah, we don't know what his range was.
But I mean, like,
but
all
once
these
again,
other
it's
things.
in this galaxy. How many other galaxies?
But I want to see like the Machine Empire, and I want to see the cogs dancing around, and they're doing like parades and stuff now. And I want to see
like the end of Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yes.
I want to see them celebrating. They're the Ewoks. I want to see
the end of the Wizard of Oz when the flying monkeys are like, "We're free."
Yeah, right. And I was like, all right, what are we gonna do? Fly around? It's like, yes, just do the same thing. Yeah, but now it's on our own. But I think for me, honestly, what I wanted to see, I didn't want Zordon to die. I really didn't. But when he did die, and
Zordon
like
hasn't done anything for the Rangers for so long. Though. I was 100% okay with Zordon leaving. We didn't even see him.
This season he was basically an absentee father.
This season, shoot, it's been for a while.
Walk and tell me in the beginning, like Zordon was not the best leader.
That's why like my big thing with the season was I don't understand why Andros is trying so hard to find it. Like we don't know, I don't understand at all what the connection between Andros and Zordon actually really was.
Yeah, we don't either. But you wanted Zordon to live, so let me not rain on your parade. What were you going to say, good sir?
It was like, I wanted Zordon to live, and then it would be like, you know, he creates some level of a high council, blah, blah. It's kind of far more organized when it comes to Rangers and stuff like that. But, you know, it's weird. We get a lot of that in something else.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, and
I just
that's something else. It's Cosmic Protectors.
I was going to say...
I can't. I can't. This is going to be impossible to do a deep fake for, but I need to find a way to intercut footage of the face of Bo from Doctor Who with Zordon.
Yeah. Oh, that would be so good. Same voice, but just this. It's
man,
just the
that
face of
fanfic of like characters in glass jars and having to live their existence that way. That's why I like the Power Rangers 2017 movie. It explains Zordon, why he's there, how he got there,
right.
And just that small exposition gave so much more depth to him as a character. And it's like, man, there's so much potential.
So much. But I mean, that was it. That just, for me, the biggest thing was I probably didn't want Zordon to die. But then with his death, the whole changing of everyone making everyone good, I was like, well, that kind of, like you said,
it wraps it up.
That wraps up everything. So it was like, wow, what is next? But that was me. What about you?
Like I said last week, but after the episode ended, for me, like the thing with Zordon, like turning everything good, I was like, okay, so I understand like the putties and the cogs and the monsters that were created turning to dust. But then when we saw, you know, Rita and Zed turn to human, I was like, wait a second, what about these other monsters that were just aliens from other planets?
Yeah.
Why? Like, were they just inherently evil? And so, and like, was it like the Thanos snap, where it's like just like, okay, everyone who's not with us is going away?
But even some of the villains, like Divas Hawks, who turned into like fake ass Demetria, but then like Elgar or whatever.
Oh,
dusted away.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I was
yeah,
just
yeah.
like, he was just a minion, man. Like, he was probably nice. Like, if you gave him a chance, he probably could have worked for the Power Rangers.
I feel like Elgar was. Have you've seen Demolition Man, right?
Yeah.
You've seen Demolition Man?
No, I know about the shells, though.
All right. So in Demolition Man, there's the guy that was in Beetlejuice that has the gray streak in his hair.
Yeah.
Who's like the assistant for the guy who's like changed society.
Right.
That's who Elgar is. Because like at the end of Demolition Man, dude comes up to Dennis Leary and he's like, "Hi, I'm whatever my name is. I'm here to say, you know, you can do whatever you want and blah 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 blah." Like he's like, "Okay, well now I'm not working for this evil asshole. I'm going to work for the good guy."
Yeah, exactly. It was like, look, I need a job. One, I need to make sure I'm alive. Two, and three, if I just left, he would have killed me. So now I'm happy to actually do something and make a change.
Yeah.
Here I am.
But
Yeah,
see, that's like
that's
both
Elgar.
cool. They started off as bullies, and you know,
They actually did grow as characters.
Yeah, and I wish they got a more definitive chance
Yeah.
to grow into something good or to actually be Rangers for a day, because I feel like that would have boosted them a lot. But there's so much they can do with it. With the existing characters or even with brand new characters, I am all about going into new Star Wars seasons.
Yeah,
So we'll see
yeah.
how Lost Galaxy goes, because
Yeah.
I'm assuming there will be some sort of passing of the torch from our current Rangers, or is it the same Rangers throughout the next season?
No, the next season actually starts like completely from scratch with a whole new team.
Oh, really? Okay,
Mhm.
so it has nothing to do with like.
Astronema is the only one that we see again.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
I
of
mean, but
course.
not
Yeah,
Astronema.
'cause-
But
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to scroll up here in the chat because
Yes.
I did see some questions here.
Ooh.
So let's see what we got going
Someone
on.
did ask me what I thought about while you're looking. They asked me what did I think about Andros getting the Battleizer. The thing is, at some moments you're just like, oh, that's cool. Winter muscle's not cool, you know?
Yeah.
But then it was like, as I've gotten older, you look at it from the adult's perspective, and you're just like, ugh, muscles almost like, it just looks weird. He can't really move around. And I mean,
And it's supposed to drain
him-
his energy, but like he was
Yes.
using it for.
Well, well, I mean, that was like every time you use every time you use the
There
Battleizer,
was
like
no
you heard me ask. I was like, why aren't the other ones using
well,
it?
yeah, like I don't get it. Okay, well, if it's working well for him, we thought there were consequences, and they're not happening. Well, then the other Rangers should just do it too.
Well,
You have a
especially
whole
Zane, who
roided
was
out
supposed to be
team.
stronger than everyone else. Why
Yes.
wasn't he able to
You
use
have a
it?
whole roided out team. Just let them go for it, dude. That'll be end of any bad guy.
Although-
bad guy comes in.
Actually, you know what would have been great?
Huh.
This would have been for me. This would have been really fun
Okay.
if they had all morphed into the Battleizer armor, and then went Superman 3, like using the
the
Battleizer
evil-
armor to start like corrupting them.
Oh my god.
So now they're just being assholes to
Oh,
everyone, but they're in the
God.
Battleizer armor the entire time.
They never came out. They never did work. Oh well, this is working.
And then they
Rangers, you're draining from the
And
morphing
then-
grid. Shut up, you floating head.
and then another one of the older Power Ranger teams needs to come in to
And stop them.
and bring them out. That would
That
have
would
been
have
good.
been good.
Especially now with a lot of superhero fatigue, like shows like The Boys on Amazon
Oh,
Prime
boy.
is super good. And
I'm
I
so-
wanna see some
the new season
complexity.
starts next week, I think.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
super excited for that. Comics I am not as sold on. It's kind of gratuitous
Yeah.
violence. It's not my thing. But
Which
I feel
one,
like
which
for The Boys.
Oh, yeah.
Like the
yeah.
comics, like the actual comics.
Mm,
I don't
too
dig
much.
them as much,
Too
actually,
much.
but the show is really good
Yeah.
and it's super interesting.
Umbrella Academy too.
Yeah, that'll be
That one's
coming
also
back.
coming up soon.
That is super interesting because
it.
like I love Star Wars dichotomy of good versus evil, but I feel like in this day and age we need shades of gray. I
Yeah,
want
oh,
our
yeah.
heroes to deal with issues and have these kind of like maybe abuse of power, because I feel like that's realistic.
Right,
You know? And
right,
like
right.
the lessons that they can learn from that. I feel like those kind of lessons in a show.
Well,
are
the
relevant, you
I love
know?
the banality of evil. I love that whole thing where they have to question their own moralities
Yeah.
and what they've been taught.
It makes them
and
complex.
that-
what they've been
yeah.
taught, or what they grew up with, what they've been taught as far as I'm a ranger and what morality is to a ranger, and then last but not least, what they actually believe.
And
Yeah.
that was
Like, I want
that
to
was
be the case.
Yeah.
that was again that was one of my big issues with this season was that Astronema and all those guys were like, we're evil, we have to be evil.
Yeah.
I'm like, people who are evil, like good villains, aren't.
Well,
They're going. They think that they're the good.
They're the
I mean,
hero of their story.
of their specific story. Like they don't necessarily think that they're the good guy,
No.
but they think that what they're doing is for the right. Like it's either for the right reasons
Mhm.
or it's for the right reasons for them.
Hence
Like
Thanos.
a jewel thief, or someone who's just like, oh, well, I'm doing it for the adrenaline. Like they,
Yeah.
they know that what they're doing is bad,
Yeah.
but they're like,
Crown.
I still have to. I need to do this.
Yeah.
But even certain things, like if you see someone like, if you watch Watchmen, like Ozymandias,
Yeah.
Ozymandias,
Mhm.
depending how you pronounce it.
Mhm.
But like, like I'm here trying to protect the world, man. I'm saving people from nuclear war.
Dude, so
like he's the main antagonist.
So much so that even the guy who is literally the god says, I can't really argue with this plan.
Yeah.
A false flag would really help save the world. Yeah. And he had to step back. Like, that's the kind of, like, I want that kind of conflict where it's just like, damn, there is no such thing as good or bad. It's just what you're doing for everyone else. And I guess that weighs out what's good and what's bad as far as how many people are dying, how many, like, I want that concept to happen because it's something that you can even address and bring to children. And they're like, oh, geez. This is really good.
But then there's also just how different societies view different things. Because like one culture is going to be like, no, this is perfectly fine. Like we're like, eating meat. I don't have a problem with eating meat. But like vegans and vegetarians are like, no, this is evil. You can't do this.
Well, for example, if you're Hindi, oh my gosh, you're eating cow?
Exactly.
Like, what is wrong with you? You are a beast. You're an animal. You're horrible. Here in America, hamburger. And that's it.
All day,
but
every day, every meal.
But it's like you put those two together, you really compare it, and you're like, oh wow, like it's just sensibilities,
right?
Things that are happening in different
or
places.
even just exposure. Like you don't even need to acknowledge it. Like I'm sorry, I keep bringing up Avatar because it's the most recent thing that I've watched.
It's fine.
But it's like Aang is a vegetarian, and there's just like, oh, I don't eat meat. And it's just making you like, oh, people are like that, and it makes you accept. So when you meet people in real life, and these kids meet other people, it's like, oh, that's fine. You don't believe in that.
Yeah,
that's perfectly okay. I don't have to draw attention to it. I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's good. It's just. That's what
it's
you
just
do.
a thing, yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like normalizing that has been great.
Jump back here into the chat. We're coming up on an hour and 15, so
so what are the questions? What are the questions?
Yeah, we'll run this down. So let me see here. I did see a question somewhere for me. Oh yeah, okay. So Matthew Thompson, I'm just gonna run through here. Matthew Thompson says, "In Space has a better ending." In his opinion, but Lost Galaxy overall is a better show or a better season. So Blackwing wants to know from me when a certain, I think he's saying when a season doesn't get fully developed, would you say it's a good development for the team as a whole? When a certain character. So Matthew, I'm gonna come back to, Blackwing, I'm gonna come back to that question. If you want to re-ask it again, we'll come back to that because I don't fully understand what you were asking. The Blur wants to know what are your feelings now on the Machine Empire and the episode where they made humans in love with the machines. That was not something I saw, so that's gonna have to be you guys.
Right. Honestly, I do remember that, and I mean, the Machine Empire was inherently evil. So
I don't know. Their family dynamic, I was cool with that. Like they were a good father, a good mother, trying to raise their kids, and it's like, hey, we want to conquer planets. We're gonna make the machines. We're kind of a superior. I view them kind of like the Cybermen, where it's like we want to upgrade you. We want to make your lives better. Obviously, that's not from our perspective on Earth, right. But I feel like they were kind of going out and trying to be like, hey, machines, you don't feel pain, you don't do any of this, and I'm like, if they came and it's like you don't have to eat. You don't have to like do any of this. Like you don't have to worry about like losing your kids. You just rebuild them. Like nobody ever dies. I'm like, that sounds like a pretty good deal, Machine Empire. If you weren't like maliciously coming down and like trying to destroy things, you could probably write an episode to persuade me.
She won me over. I
like the Machine Empire. I like that family dynamic.
Oh, see, that's why. That's right. It's Rocket.
Yeah.
Thomas Franco has a creative question. Okay. If we were to change its morphin time to something else, like if we were to make our own morphin call, what would it be?
I'm too tainted with like Sentai. I'll end up yelling something that they've already said, like say the change or something like that. Like I'm ruined. I can't. I really can't. It would just be change up or something like that. And it's like, what's that? But it would just be something like that.
I feel like you would be like something like glow up. Wasn't that what? I feel like that would be you.
Time for the glow up.
Like sparkles will come out of your like,
everything will just come out. And all of a sudden I'm like,
right? You're like battleizer armor. Hell yeah!
All day, I would not wear anything else battleizer armor. I would never need a weapon. I would just punch them in the chest or break them in half. I would never need anything. But what about you? What's your
I don't know. That's hard. Like I'm not super creative. I feel like I don't really have that. I just press the button or morph, and I'd be like, I'm here.
Already here. Why do I want to yell out when I'm just let me do it and get into
I feel
the
like
battle?
that just draws more attention and might reveal my identity. Like, I would just not yell anything. I would be the Superman in the closet and just, like, come out and, like, hopefully no one ever finds out who I actually am. Like, that would be my biggest concern. I would not be yelling out, announcing what Ranger I am at any given time. Like, ever.
I would. All right, this is gonna be really stupid, but I think Daniel's gonna love it.
Oh,
I would slightly modify something from the wonderful John Carpenter movie They Live, where Roddy Piper walks into an office, or no, I'm sorry, it's a bank, and he says, "I'm here for two things: to kick ass and chew bubblegum," and I'm all out of bubblegum. Mine would be, "I'm here for two things." To kick ass and chew bubblegum. Have him put the bubblegum in his mouth, and that's when they morph. That's sort of more of his like. It's trident layers, and they have to do that every time.
Trident layers.
Oh my God. Paying you in gum.
It's paying you in gum. That's it. I'm here to kick ass and chew bubble gum.
I'm imagining like the long ones. What was like the foot long, like the 22 like foot one, and you're just trying to like finish it so you can morph, and you're like, damn, I really wish I picked a different pack of gum.
This is my reserve. Why am I doing this now?
And then later on in the season, one of the Rangers is like, I picked the wrong day to stop chewing bubblegum.
Right? Yeah. Right? Oh my God. Well, that's your answer. Sorry that you asked it.
I know. Those are not the answers you were looking for.
Right,
Those are the answers that you got.
Oh my goodness.
Thomas Franco, another one. Do you think they should have done full turbo in space with the first turbo team instead of bringing Justin and Adam separate episodes? I'm not familiar with that one either.
Oh.
Wait,
Yeah. That episode with where Justin and Adam
Justin
came
and
back.
Adam showed up.
Should they have been together?
Yeah.
I don't know. For something like that was kind of hard. I kind of wish everyone had their own spotlight, or no one had their own spotlight. Because like even the team up episodes are so short because they still try to squeeze them into the 22 minutes. Mm-hmm. Like it would take miraculous writing for everyone, kind of like the Avengers, to have their spotlight. But for everyone to have their spotlight, like I don't know how I would write that if all of them were in together. But if it was just Justin and Adam,
just like how
maybe
it was, they had their own episode.
It just raised more questions though.
Yeah,
you still have Storm Chaser, and
my thing was like I would have loved to see any other of the other Rangers from Turbo to show.
Yeah, I kind of wish they all came back.
This one did, that one did.
Right.
Just let everybody show up.
Yeah.
See, I think they should have come back for the episode with the evil Humvee. Because
they
were all cars.
Yeah,
I think that would have made sense. Larry, this isn't a question, but Larry says that he wishes Ecliptor had turned into a human.
Same.
Yep.
And
he could have had some really dope ass emo hair with the stripes, like anime hair. He would have looked super cool.
Thomas Franco says that there's a theory that Ecliptor was a robot that was created by Billy. I don't know about that one.
Interesting.
Let's see.
Billy probably created the turbo cars, to be honest. If they're sentient, right? Like he already did that with his little VW bug. Making it fly.
Elle and Daniel, do you think In Space should have full crossover team up with? Oh wait, no, that was a question I just asked.
Okay.
I'm just scrolling back through. Larry Newbill says that he likes your shirts.
Thanks.
Karina Turtle agrees. Blackwing says, yeah, I meant to say certain character. So do you think, so is your question, let me clarify this. Is your question if they just focus on one character instead of the entire team? Would that be a good character development?
I would want the whole team.
But do you mean per episode? Like if we're just one episode, do you just mean like if one episode focuses on one character, is that good development for the team?
That's something I would be okay with because they were starting to do that.
Like every show, every real like sci-fi show that I've seen always has an episode that focuses on there's episodes that are ensemble, and then there's episodes that focus on one of the lead characters.
And I love the interactions between the characters. Mm-hmm. Like sometimes you have a twosome, sometimes you have a threesome, sometimes and those are the best when you get characters that don't necessarily mesh. Like in Mighty Morphin, every time that Kimberly and Billy got together, I was always shocked at how well their chemistry was. And how understanding they were of each other, and those are characters I never would have matched in a show either.
No,
and those are some of the best.
I agree with that. I would love that. Like for example, I know a lot of you guys. Q Ranger, you guys know I loved it. Q Ranger did moments where they were like, all right, we're going to focus on this one character for this episode, then we'll move on, focus on another one. Sometimes we'll do weird combinations. Mm-hmm. And even when they did that, their filler episodes were still very good. They had a dancing episode that was like amazing, or dancing singing episode that was really good. They had a baseball episode that I was like, I am not ready to watch this. And I loved it because it was like it did fill up and give me a lot more concerning that particular character. So, I mean, it can be done.
Yeah.
And I think that is the way to do it.
It's definitely a very valid way because, I mean, even in space, we got episodes that were more focused on one of the characters and what they were doing. I don't feel like we got enough character development in those episodes for those characters.
Yeah.
But that's a very solid method because when you have those episodes that focus on an individual character, you get obviously more story and more backstory and more time with them. So when they're interacting with the other characters in future episodes, you understand more where that character is going and why they're acting the way that they are. So as long as it's a good mix of character-centric episodes and team-centric episodes where you can see how all that character building is playing into the larger narrative, all for it. If every episode is just a single character building episode, that's going to get old after a while because you're not going to, there's no place for that to go.
See, that's why it's like Zeo was a really, really great season because you got to see that, was it with Tanya, with Adam? It's like, I want to learn more martial arts. Hey, I'm going to teach you. You don't really, this is not really your thing. I'll show you how to do this. And it's
Larry has a really good one for you.
What? Oh boy, what is it? Dan will be like, kiss my Converse. I am wearing the shoes and I'm wearing the shirt. That's true. I'm like, kiss my Converse. And then go, I'd do it. I'd rock with that. That's a
I can see it.
I'll just do that. I like it, Larry.
All right. So any last thoughts before we sign off?
So far, Space is the best Power Rangers season I've watched. I really like it, and I'm looking forward to Lost Galaxy because I hear it's even better.
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much like them all with the exception of Turbo and Alien Rangers, which falls into Mighty Morphin for some of you. I consider that completely separate because they were kids and I didn't like any of that. But yeah, I don't know. Power Rangers was one of those nostalgia things. I do thoroughly enjoy the episodes most of the time. And even when I don't, like, you guys got to understand that, yeah, sometimes I'm critical, but I'm actually enjoying it. The fact that I want to talk about it, the fact that I want to speak up about it means that I like it. Even if I'm being critical, it's because I'm passionate. The moment that you know that I stop caring about Power Rangers, I'm gonna just sit here for an hour and be like, "That's cool, man." You know, like that's why we talk about this.
Same with me. Like obviously there were some episodes in space that we watched where we were like, this was just a bad episode. And I don't know what to say about it. And you guys saw that. Yeah. But then even episodes where it was like, oh well, you know, I had an issue with this and I had an issue with this. I still like enjoy talking about those things because the overall story was good and the episode overall was entertaining, and like being critical of something doesn't automatically mean that you don't like it. Like
it means you're thinking about the show. It means that you want it to be better, that it can be better, that you're thinking about how it should be versus how it is.
One of my favorite blockbuster movies is Independence Day, and I give that movie so much shit though, because like once you start digging into it, like even The Matrix, I love The Matrix. Once you start digging into those and you look at the underlying mythology behind it, you're like,
don't show me Zion again.
Wait a second. How did this happen or how did that happen? But it's still entertaining, so it's still enjoyable to watch, and that's how I felt about Power Rangers in Space. Like overall, it was a thoroughly enjoyable season. I had my issues with certain episodes and the pacing and how certain plot lines played out, but I don't regret spending the time watching the show and here talking about the show. Yeah.
So hopefully Lost Galaxy will be super good. I'm really excited. We have so many seasons of Power Rangers to get through. So many. So
we're looking forward to seeing all of you there as we continue to watch.
We taking next week off from Power Rangers so we can figure out our Power Ranger schedule, or are we coming back next week?
So originally this was going to be our off week, and then we were going to come back next week with Lost Galaxy.
Okay.
So now I know it's still up there scheduled for next week now, but I'll push it. I'm gonna push it back. So I'll push it back to the week after next.
Okay.
So we'll have next week off. We can kind of come together and figure out what, like, it'll just be a powwow for us, kind of figuring out what we want to do. Maybe. I don't know how I feel about this. We'll talk with some of the other people behind the scenes, but maybe we'll do a Twitch stream where it's us kind of throwing out ideas and trying to figure out how, like, they can watch us like do the behind the scenes of how we're deciding how we're going to format the show.
Like talking about how many episodes, what we should do, what episode.
Right. So
if you guys want some input on that,
so you guys can chime in. have some input. We won't necessarily follow everything that you guys suggest to us, but it might be interesting to see how we develop that kind of stuff. So if you're interested in watching that, let us know, and that's definitely something that I'd be willing to do.
Or the better way to do it, if you want to follow us on Facebook, we are the Inner Circle for the Illuminati. We'll probably post if we're doing any Twitch streams. We do it on that. Make sure to follow us on social media: Instagram, Facebook. Twitter.
Do we
post it on Twitter? We actually do post it on Twitter. So if you want to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, that's where you can find out more information about when we're going to stream, and you can put your input in for Lost Galaxy.
Right. Tonight there is no wrestling show.
Okay.
So maybe I'll do a Twitch stream after I pack up and go home and have my Xbox and all that kind of stuff set up. We'll see. Maybe a game of some kind.
Is there a game that you want to play?
Yes. Yesterday in the chat on the Ranger show, I was talking with Heirloom about Star Trek Online. And after going through the Star Trek show with Joe, I'm like I kind of want to restart that again because I've got it on my Xbox and I think my character is like level 65 or something. Heirloom is level. I don't remember what he said, but he's on his PC where I would have to make a new character. So I would be starting over on my PC instead of on my Xbox, or he would have to start over on his Xbox. Yeah. So we'll have to figure that out. But that's definitely up there for me. I finished the shark eating the man eating shark game.
That was really cool.
But there's some other stuff that I was talking with Shay about. So we'll just kind of see what time it is.
That's why you follow us on social media, friends.
We will be back on Friday on Twitch with another Just Chatting stream.
We don't know what we're talking about.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah, we won't know what we're talking about until Friday.
We actually only figure it out as Josh is setting up the stream. So it's always a fun time.
It's
if
always
you guys have
different.
ideas, be in the chat, throw some stuff out. If you got questions, comments, confessions, we can talk about it.
Right. The whole thing with our streams on Friday on Twitch is we want to know what you guys want to talk about. Join in the chat, ask us questions, bring up topics that you want us to talk about, and we will shift live as the show is happening to what you guys want to discuss.
It doesn't have to be about Power Rangers. It doesn't have to
about
be about movies.
anything.
It could be about, hey, venting. I've been locked up for 4 months.
Honestly, I'm 100% honest. I would prefer that it's not about Power Rangers, just because we talk about that.
Man, we've been
all the time. So other fandoms that you guys are in, even if it's other tokusatsu stuff like Ultraman or Kamen Rider or whatever it is, I'm down to learn and talk about whatever. This Friday night, I believe, again, it's going to be myself, Bryce, possibly Migdalia, and one of our other writers, Corbin. So we'll see. Maybe other people, if they're free, we'll just see how it works.
Yeah, and if you want news, if you want to talk more Power Rangers, we have a ton of articles up on our website. If you want to go to theilluminati.com, you'll be able to find a lot of content there. There's room for comments there. If you want to throw it up, we can have discussions that way. Focus on your favorite fandoms. But I think that'll do it for us for today. So thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, guys, and may the power be with you. Or may the power protect you.
May the power protect you. Zordon era.
That's the answer.